If you ever wonder what it looks like when a franchise hits DEFCON 1 over a rookie quarterback, welcome to Cleveland. Because behind the locker room doors, beyond the crisp spirals and stat sheets, the Browns are unraveling over one name, Shedeur Sanders. And not in the way you'd think. The rookie isn't stirring up drama. He's not calling out coaches or demanding to start. No, what's igniting chaos in the Browns facility is something far more dangerous. He's doing too well. And that's exactly the problem. Sanders is, at this point, too good to ignore and too inconvenient to promote. The second he walked into training camp, the mood shifted. What started as a quiet opportunity for development has turned into a ticking time bomb for a team already teetering between rebuild and delusion. And while the rest of the NFL is figuring out how to maximize their rookie talent, Cleveland is stuck arguing about what Shedeur's success actually means. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. On paper, Shedeur is crushing it again. But this isn't just about stats anymore. It's about the power struggle those stats have triggered. The coaching staff is being pulled in opposite directions. Offensive coordinator Mike Geller, newly promoted and desperate to prove himself, reportedly sees Shedeur as the clean slate the offense needs. He's drawn up specific packages tailored to Sanders' strengths. RPOs, quick reads, tight play-action movement. The works. But even Geller has admitted privately that he's walking a political tightrope. Why? Because head coach Kevin Stefanski has one eye on his playbook and one on job security. He knows giving a rookie QB the reins mid-season is risky, even if the rookie is outplaying his competition. Stefanski's been burned before by premature quarterback shifts. He knows what happens when the media turns, when ownership doubts, and when the fan base turns feral. So he's playing it safe. Maybe too safe. Meanwhile, Shedeur is putting in work, and not just during team sessions. He's reportedly the first QB in facility every morning, running drills with fringe receivers in practice squad, hopefuls like it's week one. One staffer joked he's building chemistry with people who might be bagging groceries by November. But it's not a joke. That's exactly the kind of leadership that terrifies the status quo. Because every time Shedeur makes a clean read or improvises a broken play into a first down, he's not just impressing the locker room. He's embarrassing the decision-makers who didn't want him here in the first place. One of the biggest under-the-radar moments of the offseason? Shedeur wasn't even scouted by the team's senior VP of player personnel. The internal buzz is that his name was fast-tracked to GM Andrew Berry through a private scout who had watched Sanders' tape independently. Berry was intrigued enough to do a quiet, back-channel evaluation, and when he saw the football IQ and composure under pressure, he told the staff to get ready. He didn't want a press tour. He wanted proof. And now that proof is staring everyone in the face, and no one knows what to do with it. Let's talk locker room dynamics, because this might be the most revealing part of the whole situation. The veteran wideouts, they're not just vibing with Sanders. They're campaigning for him, not overtly, but in ways that matter. Look at practice footage. Look at who's staying after the run reps with him. It's not the fifth-string guys looking for scraps. It's the starters, the guys who know exactly what chemistry means for their own numbers. One anonymous lineman reportedly said, "He talks to us." Like actually talks. He asks about blocking schemes and protections. He cares about what we do. You know what that is? That's a quarterback, not a prospect, not a storyline. A quarterback. And yet, the brass upstairs is fumbling around like they're unsure if they found gold or uranium. Let's peel back the curtain even further. There's growing tension between analytics and instinct inside the Browns' decision-making process. The number crunchers, those who helped engineer the team's smarter draft decisions in recent years, are pointing Shedeur's camp data and saying, he's the guy. It's right here. Completion percentage under pressure, higher than anyone else on the roster. Third down efficiency in situational drills, near perfect. Ball security in red zone reps, better than last year's starter. All of it, but the film room purists, the old school evaluators, are calling it camp flash and cautioning against overreaction. Translation, internal politics are eating this team alive. And then there's a looming threat that's keeping everyone even more paranoid. New Orleans is circling again. The Saints have been quietly monitoring the Sanders saga like it's a Netflix docuseries. Multiple reports say they've contacted the Browns not just once, but 3 separate times, each with a slightly sweeter deal. And while none of those offers have been accepted, they've definitely been discussed. In one internal meeting, a Browns exec reportedly posed a question. If he's not going to start here, why are we holding him hostage? Ouch! Here's what's so ironic about all this. Cleveland wanted to be unpredictable this year. They wanted to be the team that no one saw coming. The one with trick plays and young talent and explosive energy. But when that exact scenario started becoming real, in the form of a breakout rookie QB, they panicked. It's like ordering chaos and then complaining when it shows up hot. And while Sanders remains a picture of professionalism on the outside, multiple sources say he's fully aware of what's happening around him. He's aware that his name is being floated. He's aware of who's backing him and who's stalling him. And most importantly, he's aware that opportunities elsewhere are real. And if you're wondering about the Saints' internal situation, let's just say their staff is watching Shedeur's camp highlights like it's game tape. They've already installed a playbook that could accommodate a mobile, high-IQ quarterback. They've got a veteran offensive line, a top-tier receiver core, a dome, a fan base desperate for a new identity. It's basically QB Disneyland compared to what's happening in Cleveland, which is why everyone in the Browns facility feels the pressure. The players, they just want a shot at winning. And more, they think Shedeur gives them that. The coaches, they're caught between vision and politics. The front office, they're fragmented, unsure whether to double down or admit they're sitting on a live wire. And Shedeur, he's right there in the middle of it all, throwing dots, shaking hands, and quietly waiting to see which path the Browns choose. Because at this point, there are only 2 outcomes. Either Cleveland embraces the storm and leans into the chaos they say they wanted, or they double back on fear and hand another team the keys to a quarterback who's already outgrown the rookie label. One leads to transformation, the other leads to regret. And when you look at the franchise's past, well, you can probably guess which way the wind is blowing. So let's imagine, for just a second, that the Browns actually pull the trigger, that the trade rumors swirling around Shedeur Sanders go from smoke to fire, that Cleveland, under pressure from Jimmy Haslam's restlessness and fear of being wrong, ships off the most electric rookie they've seen in years. What happens then? Well, first, the locker room implodes quietly, not in some explosive, headline-grabbing way, but in the more corrosive, silent kind of way. Veteran players start losing faith, not necessarily in the coaches, but in the vision, in the trust that talent and work ethic are what earn you a spot. When you see the guy who's showing up first, leaving last, outperforming his peers, and still getting benched and traded, what does that say about your own chances? Suddenly, it's not about football anymore. It's about surviving the hierarchy. It's about playing the game behind the game. The message sent doesn't matter how well you perform. If the guy at the top doesn't like you, you're out. And if that's the new standard, what are you really building? Meanwhile, over in New Orleans, the celebration begins. Within days, maybe even hours, of landing Sanders, he becomes the face of the franchise's reset. He's already got the name, the swagger, and the composure. Pair that with a team that actually believes in him, and it's off to the races. He's in a dome. He's behind a stronger O-line. He's got playmakers. He's got coaches desperate to right their own wrongs after botching the post-Breeze era. In that environment, Shedeur doesn't just succeed, he ascends. And you know what happens next. The comparisons start. The side-by-sides on sports TV. Sanders in a Saints jersey, thriving. The Browns, still stuck in quarterback limbo. Fans turn bitter. Analysts roast the decision daily. Every touchdown Shedeur throws becomes a reminder. Every post-game press conference becomes a slow-motion car crash of regret. This isn't far-fetched. It's practically a prophecy. But maybe, just maybe, it doesn't have to end like that. There's still time. That's the absurd part. This isn't a too-late situation, yet, as of now, Shedeur Sanders is still on the Browns roster, still suiting up, still walking into practice with his head down and his focus sharp. Despite the noise, he hasn't turned bitter. He hasn't posted a cryptic Instagram story or dropped subtle jabs in interviews. He's kept it business because he still believes on some level that Cleveland might wake up. And it's not just about him starting. It's about him being treated like he belongs in the conversation. That's all. Fair evaluation. Honest reps. Let the field speak. It's a simple ask. But simple doesn't mean easy. Not in Cleveland. Because what's really standing in the way of that? It's not talent. It's not readiness. It's not even a clogged depth chart. It's pride. It's a front office and ownership group that doesn't want to admit that their best quarterback might be the guy they never wanted to draft in the first place. And the irony, that fear of being wrong, is what might end up proving them exactly that. It's the kind of twisted logic loop you only find in sports, where the obsession with being right gets in the way of doing what's smart, where egos are so big they cast shadows over actual success, where a rookie proving everyone wrong is seen as a problem instead of a gift. That's where the Browns are right now, trapped between fear and fortune. You'd think, after everything, they'd know better. This is a team that's been through every version of quarterback drama you can imagine. The busts, the overhyped journeyman, the legal disasters, the desperate trades, the maybe this is finally our guy speeches. They've tried the flashy picks, the safe picks, the Band-Aids, and none of it has worked. But now they have something different. Something raw, yes, but real. A quarterback who wants to lead, who's ready to be coached, who's showing up early, staying late, and not letting the politics infect his game. That's rare. That's worth something. And if Cleveland can't see that, if they're really willing to let Shedeur walk just to avoid bruising an owner's ego or admitting a miscommunication in the draft room, then they deserve everything that's coming. But let's flip the script for a moment. Let's say Cleveland takes a gamble that isn't a gamble at all. They give Shedeur first-team reps. Let him roll with the starters for a few series. Let the field decide. What do they have to lose? At worst, he proves he's not ready yet. And you continue to develop him behind the scenes. At best, he keeps performing, keeps improving, and forces a decision you want to have. What a wild idea. Evaluating a quarterback based on merit. And the best part? Even if it creates tension in the short term, it galvanizes the team long term. Players see that performance matters. Coaches earn respect for taking bold but fair risks. The front office gets a shot at redemption, not just for the pick, but for backing it when it counts. It's not about handing Shedeur the starting job. It's about giving him the opportunity to earn it, because right now, he's not even being allowed to compete. He's playing chess against guys stuck in checkers, and still being told to sit on the sideline. That's not just frustrating. It's unsustainable. And eventually, something will give. Either the team sees a light, or they pass the torch to another city and watch their spark turn into someone else's fire. But if Cleveland does choose to ride this out, to dig in and build with Shedeur instead of burying him, they're not just avoiding a PR disaster. They're building something rare, something we haven't seen from the Browns in decades. A young quarterback, a united locker room, a coaching staff finding rhythm, a front office that owns its choices. That's the vision. It's right there. And all they have to do is stop tripping over their own stubbornness long enough to see it. It's not about hype. It's not about headlines. It's about football. And if Cleveland can finally remember that, maybe, just maybe, this won't be another story of what could have been. Maybe it'll be the one where they finally got it right. But let's be real. For that ending to happen, the Browns would have to do something that's historically out of character. Get out of their own way. And if you followed this team for more than 5 minutes, you know that's not something they're particularly good at. Because deep down, this isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. It's about Cleveland's identity or lack thereof. It's about a franchise that has spent so many years bouncing between desperation and delusion that it no longer knows what stability feels like. Every decision is haunted by the ghost of past flops. Every rookie is either the next savior or an accident waiting to happen. There is no middle ground. There is no patience. And right now, Shedeur is caught right in the crossfire of all of it. If he were slightly worse in camp, none of this would be an issue. He'd be the quiet backup, a developmental project with potential. If he were slightly better, maybe even flashier, maybe the fans would riot, the media would explode, and the Browns would feel pressure to cave. But Shedeur's problem is that he's just good enough to be undeniable and just inconvenient enough to be ignored. He's outperforming expectations without being loud about it. And for a franchise addicted to narrative, that's almost worse than failure, because Cleveland doesn't know how to handle quiet success. They don't know how to deal with stability. The quarterback who keeps his head down and just does the job, the one who studies film late and hits his targets on time and doesn't run to press, that's not flashy enough for them. That's not headline material. They want either a star or a scandal, not a grown-up. And Shedeur Sanders, at 22, is already acting more grown-up than half the people making decisions about his career. You want proof? Let's look at what's not happening. Shedeur isn't giving interviews where he hints at frustration. He isn't leaking things to friendly reporters. He isn't subtweeting the team. No cryptic emoji posts. No loyalty over opportunity nonsense. Just silence. Work. Reps. In today's NFL, that alone is impressive. In Cleveland, that's a miracle. And still, that restraint is being met with indecision and bureaucracy. The coaching staff doesn't want to rock the boat. The GM is quietly pushing for patience. And the owner? Well, Jimmy Haslam is apparently more interested in managing image than fostering talent. This is a man who wants to be right more than he wants to win. And that's why Shedeur's success is a problem. Not because it's bad for the team, but because it threatens a narrative. Think about it. If Sanders keeps balling out, and Barry was the one who scouted him, believed in him, drafted him, and protected him, then where does that leave Haslam in the credit pie chart? On the sidelines. And for some owners, that's worse than losing. So instead of celebrating a potential future star, the Browns are now leaking stories, entertaining trade offers, and doing the mental gymnastics required to convince themselves that maybe this isn't our guy after all. It's classic fear of success syndrome. Meanwhile, the Saints continue to hover like hawks. They've already built a back-channel relationship with Sanders' camp. They've been careful not to cross any lines, but their interest is obvious. And can you blame them? They're not the only team that passed on Sanders in the draft. But they might be the first team willing to admit they were wrong and actually do something about it. And if this trade goes through, the NFL landscape shifts instantly. Because while most rookie trades involve role players or long shots, this one would involve a quarterback who hasn't even scratched the surface of his potential and who's already better than multiple starters around the league. In other words, this wouldn't just be a trade. It'd be an indictment. And not just on the Browns, but on the way some teams still cling to old-school decision-making in a league that's evolving faster than they are. Shedeur is a modern quarterback, mobile but poised, confident but coachable, marketable but grounded. He's got all the tools, and he's got the temperament. But because he wasn't a top 5 pick, and because his last name carries weight some people resent, he's getting the slow roll treatment. The problem is, he didn't come into the league to be slow rolled. And now, the Browns are running out of excuses. They can't hide behind developmental curve anymore. He's ahead of schedule. They can't argue fit when he's already meshing with the offense. And they definitely can't pretend it's about competition when he's consistently outperforming the guys ahead of him. So what can they do? They can stall. They can leak. They can distract. And eventually, they can ship him off. But here's what happens if they do that. They enter a new chapter in their already tragic playbook of quarterback mismanagement. One where the what-if becomes too loud to ignore. One where every future loss is filtered to the lens of, remember when we had Shedeur? And don't think for a second the players will forget. This isn't just about a QB battle. This is about trust, culture, direction. If a team gets rid of a player who's clearly earned his spot, what does that say about the rest of them? What message does that send to the rookies watching from the sidelines, wondering if merit still matters? You don't just lose a player. You lose buy-in. And that's the danger Cleveland is flirting with. But maybe there's still a window. Maybe someone in the building has the spine to stand up and say, let's stop being afraid of the obvious. Let's stop overthinking. Let's give the kid a chance. And maybe that one decision changes everything. Maybe Sanders becomes the face of a new era in Cleveland. Maybe he doesn't. But the point is, you'll never know if you keep playing scared. There are moments in every franchise's history that become turning points. Not because of what happened, but because of what could have happened. The quarterback they let walk, the coach they didn't back, the opportunity they didn't seize. This could be one of those moments. It could be the end of another sad Brown saga. Or it could be the beginning of something different, something better, something earned,